Welcome to the OLV Daily Reflection for Wednesday, January 28th. Today, the Universal Church celebrates the feast day of St. Thomas Aquinas. He was a Dominican priest who lived from 1225 to 1274. He was born into a noble Italian family who hoped that he would become a Benedictine monk. At the age of 5, he was given to the Benedictine monastery at Monte Cassino. In 1239, he was sent to Naples to complete his studies. By 1243, though, because of experiences he had in Naples, St. Thomas abandoned his family's plans for him and joined the order of preachers, or otherwise known as the Dominicans, much to his family's dismay. His family, in reaction to this decision, decided to capture him and kept him at home for over a year to try to convince him to abandon his desire to join the order of preachers. However, he would not be convinced. Once he was free, he went to Paris and then Cologne, where he finished his studies with St. Albert the Great. During this time of study, his fellow students did not think much of him. He was eventually nicknamed the Dumb Ox because of his big stature and what was thought to be a dim intellect. However, St. Albert the Great saw the potential in St. Thomas, and it was quoted as saying, "You call him the dumb ox. I tell you this dumb ox will bellow so loud that his bellowings will fill the world." And the greatness of St. Thomas's mind and soul shined through after he finished his studies. His preaching and teaching would become widely known, and he made some of the greatest contributions to the church in the understanding between faith and reason. So therefore, his writings, which are still widely studied by students of theology, show forth unity, harmony, and the continuity that exists between faith and reason. So today's first reading, in honor of St. Thomas Aquinas, who is also known as the Angelic Doctor, comes to us from the 7th chapter of the Book of Wisdom. It reads, "I prayed, and prudence was given me. I pleaded, and the spirit of wisdom came to me. I preferred her to scepter and throne, and deem riches nothing in comparison with her, nor did I liken any priceless gem to her, because all gold in view of her is a little sand, and before her silver is to be counted mire. Beyond health and comeliness I loved her, and I chose to have her rather than the light, because the splendor of her never yields to sleep. Now God grant I speak suitably, and value these endowments at their worth. For he is the guide of wisdom, and the director of the wise. For both we and our words are in his hands, as well as all prudence and knowledge of crafts." I think it's safe to say that most of us, if not all of us, probably can't relate to the story of St. Thomas Aquinas' intellectual gifts. Because he was so smart, so brilliant, he was considered to be the dumb ox by his peers because they couldn't understand how much he understood. And if they could have understood him, they would probably have been blown away. But only a few truly understood how gifted and how wise he was. Therefore, the Angelic Doctor's life reveals that he used his exceptional intellectual gifts in service of the church, and his influence on the church is still helping and supporting the church. And this calling placed upon him by the Lord was truly unique and is bestowed on very few throughout the history of the church. But even though we can't relate to that reality of his life, I believe all of us can relate to the fact that we've all been misunderstood, not fully appreciated, and maybe even cast aside by people for whatever reason. So with that reality in our lives, being misunderstood, cast aside, not being appreciated, we can imitate St. Thomas Aquinas through his act of humility and determination. We know what we are about. We know what gifts the Lord has given us. And furthermore, we can look to St. Thomas and see that his journey was not easy either. But when he was recognized for the gifts he had, St. Thomas truly gave of himself. And truthfully, he could probably become very prideful. The dumb ox could have done something very different with his talents and gifts, especially given how he was treated. But he took the words we heard from the Book of Wisdom to heart, that following the ways of the Lord, the wisdom that comes from God, is truly the best path for our lives. There is no other way. Now, again, it is still hard to live God's ways. And furthermore, when life treats us harshly, we sometimes can lose track of the wisdom that comes from God. But again, we have great examples like St. Thomas Aquinas to remind us that there is truly the source of happiness in our life. And that is following God's way, following God's wisdom, and following the path that only Christ can lead us down. Our Lady of Victory, pray for us.